Hi everybody, my name is Dylan. I'm from the USA and I moved to Guangzhou, China a few years ago to start graduate school in something called tea science. Basically, tea science is just the study of tea. And within tea science, you can study the health effects of tea or the breeding of new tea varieties, or you can study tea field management. Personally, I chose to study something called soil health, and we're looking at how to manage tea fields in a sustainable way that can enhance tea crop quality and enhance the health and resilience of tea plants. Besides my research, I like making tea-related videos for Instagram and YouTube. And on YouTube, I'll do more like deep dives where I'm taking 30 or 40 minutes to dive all the way into a topic of tea education. And then on Instagram and on TikTok, I'll do more short vlog-style videos where it's a day in the life of a foreigner living in China studying tea. At this point, you might be wondering, how did I even get here? Why did I choose to study tea in China? Which is a fair question. Basically, my interest in tea started with an interest in China. Throughout high school and college, my academic focus was on Chinese, language, and culture. And it was during my college years in Beijing that I got really interested in tea. At that time, I took a trip with one of my friends from Beijing to Guangzhou. And I remember we went to the Fangcun Chaye Shichang, which is the biggest wholesale tea market on earth. And I remember this one afternoon, we sat down with a tea master from a place in eastern Guangdong called Chaozhou. And he starts making us his hometown tea, which is called Fenghuang Dancong Oolong Cha. So it's a type of oolong from Chaozhou. And I'm actually drinking it right now. It's one of my favorite teas still to this day. We sit down with him and it's his hometown's tea. And he prepares it in these clay pots and these clay cups, which is also traditional to Chaozhou. And there's these mannerisms, these rituals kind of around tea drinking that he teaches us, right? How to tap your fingers, how to rinse the cups. And so I'm learning about the culture of tea consumption. And we're chatting in Chinese for 2 or 3 hours about his experience as a tea master and as a tea merchant over the years. And I found that within one afternoon, 2 to 3 hours of drinking tea with this Chaozhou tea master, that I learned more about Chinese language and culture than I had in the whole last semester of school. I also at the same time had drank the best tea I'd ever had in my life, and I felt amazing. I was so happy, and we were just chatting, and I felt like I was really immersed in China and in Chinese culture for the first time. And so it was kind of that, using tea as a lens to learn more about Chinese language and culture, that drew me into tea in the first place. And then I traveled to a couple other tea producing areas. I went to Yunnan and I saw how pu'er tea was made. And they have a whole different history of tea production and tea drinking in that part of China. And then I went to Hangzhou and I visited Westlake, where they make Xihu Longjing, which is Westlake Dragonwell green tea, which is a totally different type of tea with a totally different style of tea consumption. The final link to fall into place that brought me to where I am today is meeting who would become my first mentor in the world of tea. And we were in Guangzhou and we had a chance encounter at a tea house. And we started chatting and we met up a few times after that. He eventually invited me to be his graduate student in the field of tea science here in Guangzhou. And so I decided that I had to do it. I had to take this opportunity to research tea in China, and that's what I did. So now, if I'm looking at what I'll be doing in the future, step one is to finish up this PhD, right? And then after that, I would like to maybe stay in China a little bit longer. I feel like I have so much more to learn and see here. I might do a postdoc at a different research institute for tea. Another interesting thing that I think would be cool is to be a consultant for tea farmers here, where I can help them implement ways to improve their soil health. I would love to be working with tea farmers. That's kind of one of my favorite things actually about studying tea here in China, is going to the tea fields, spending time in rural China, and hanging out with tea farmers and chatting with them, because they're some of the most interesting people I've ever met in my life. So that's probably the next couple years for me, but regardless of which direction I go in, I will absolutely be continuing to make interesting, engaging, informative tea videos for the world. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to my journey, and hope to connect with you in future videos. Cheers.